Good day. This is Dennis Wilson coming from what Montanans like to call the last best place. They got it close. They're one off. The last best place is the Constitution of the United States because without it, we would not have that blue flag you see behind me, nor would we have the US flag, the Old Glory, as they like to refer to it. It's right over there. Now I got it in my picture. Sorry about the move. But the Constitution is everything. Without it, this state and this nation would not be. What we would have in its place, I'm afraid to even try to fathom that question. I don't think it would be very good. So I'm here today to tell you that I'm going to launch my new podcast. It's called We the People 250, hashtag the United States Constitution. And you will be able to find me on numerous platforms by going to wethepeople250podcast.com. And so here we are today in beautiful Montana. You got to be looking at the screen right now going, why is this old man sitting up here trying to talk about the Constitution when he should be out golfing or fishing or doing something else, enjoying his retirement? Well, I've already done that. And this goes back probably 7 or 8 years when families got together. And of course, that was during COVID, and COVID brought up politics. Pretty soon, people were hotly engaged in political discussion and argument. And trust me, I've got some very educated individuals in my family, but I don't recall one of them specifically referencing the Constitution in their discussion about current political events. And that kind of spun my head a little bit. I went, wait a minute, these people are well educated. What is going on here? And so I began to look into that and think about, well, maybe I could do something. What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. And then one day I go, hey, everybody else has got a podcast. Why not me? So I began to go down that road with a lot of research, reading on the Constitution. And then I came up with a whole list of excuses. Well, I don't know. I don't think I can do that. I'm too old. I don't understand the IT part of this. I don't get the technical aspect. I can't grasp all that. I was teaching school before the computer was invented. That's the those are the doubts. And everybody, when you launch something, whether it's a business or whatever, I think we have a lot of doubts. And so I just kind of drift along through that. And then I was very fortunate to get some help and encouragement from family and friends, which I deeply appreciated. So here I am today for episode 1, part A, prologue of my podcast. And I'd like to start this event by paying tribute to a friend of mine who died last week. His name was Dave Fetzer, great individual. And he was always asking me, Dennis, when are you going to get that podcast? Dennis, when are you going to get up that podcast going? Well, he didn't live long enough for this. And so today I'm dedicating my podcast to him. But before we really get started, I know this is old school and some of you are going to laugh. And some of you are going to go, wow, I haven't done that in 50 years or 40 years or whatever. And that is to start this podcast every time, hopefully I'll remember, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're driving your car right now, listening to the podcast, um, just go along with me on this. If you're at home and you got a flag in front of you, then you can use it. If you don't, you can imagine one in front of you. But we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And then down the road, and when I have time, I'll explain the reason for that, especially to the young people. But let's go ahead and do this right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we can get on and talk about some of the more some of the many things that I'd like to dive into here. Um, First of all, I think that you want to know my motive. Why is this guy? Why could he care less? Why is this guy so interested in the Constitution? Well, I graduated in 1973 from Chico State University. I got my teaching credential and I began teaching high school in the fall of 73. I taught history um, and economics, psychology, and political science for roughly 20 years. And so I got interested in it. I was a history major, but the Constitution, that's what it's about, a lot of history. And so I always spent a lot of time in my history classes talking about the Constitution as well. Um, so I come in with some experience. I'm just not a guy off the street that says, hey, I want to do this. Um, I'm not here because I want fame. Excuse me, my timer was beeping. Okay, there it is, it's gone. Um, I'm not here for fame, fortune. I don't want the money. I don't want any of it. I just want to get out the word on the Constitution and and how we arrived at such a beautiful, fantastic document. Um, look at it and you go, oh, okay, that's not much. Look right behind me here. On my left-hand side, you can see the Constitution on parchment, 4 large pages. Well, if you put those on typical line paper today, 8 by 11, it'd probably take up 8 or 10 pages. And you go, well, that's not much. Well, there are libraries full of information, legal cases, Supreme Court cases, and all kinds of writing on the Constitution that you can find in libraries across the country. So obviously, this document is of extreme importance to all of us, or it should be. And, if you don't know, you don't know, and it's not your fault. I mean, adults, obviously, whether it's your parents or your school teachers or whatever, did not introduce you to the subject, then guess what? It's not your fault. But now, if you're listening to my podcast and walk away, it's your fault. And I'm not saying you can't get this anywhere else. You can get it in a lot of other places. This is just one source that I hope to provide that's convenient for all of us. Um, I also want to comment on one thing that I found out in my research that I couldn't believe it. There are or were 11 states that did not offer political science to high school seniors. 11 states did not make any attempt to offer a semester course to graduating seniors. It just blows my mind. I don't understand it. Now, luckily, Luckily, one of those states, one of the 11, was Montana. And now they have been involved for several years now in the process of bringing political science, um, if you want to call it political science, other terms can be used for it. But to our graduating seniors here in Montana, I think that is absolutely fantastic. Hooray, hurrah for all of you out there that realize the need for it, and our seniors here can engage in that endeavor and in that important process. Okay, so there are 10 more out there that do not, and hopefully, they will realize the importance of this document and why kids need to know it. Okay, so that's kind of one major reason why I'm going down this road. But I've always had this thing of service. I don't know. I guess if you're a school teacher, you provided service. And okay, good, I did. Um, but many other people do the same, whether you're a policeman, a firefighter, a rescue person, whatever it is out there, you're definitely providing service. Definitely our military, all the branches of our military, I salute you. And you are making a very strong stand every day for the Constitution of the United States. I will, with that note, I will bring with me next time, on the next episode, I will bring my little blue book. I have a little blue book. You can get it at the Smithsonian. And in that little blue book, and I mean little, it's like, 3.5 by 3.5. It has the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Sometimes they put in the Bill of Rights or whatever else in there. But you can get it from the Smithsonian. And the first time it went off to war was with the Union soldiers back in the 1860s when they marched off to the South to fight the Confederacy. That was given to them, and it was explained, this is why you're fighting. One of the reasons you're fighting is right here in front of you. Read it, understand it, share it, talk about it, and take it with you to the battlefield. And many of our men did. So next time, if I remember, next time I will bring that little booklet in here, and maybe you can order it so you'll always have a copy of the Constitution and make reference to it. Now, I also have, and it's a lot, unfortunately, I have 1,350,000 reasons why I'm doing this podcast. That is roughly, and I know I'm underestimating, that is the number of Americans who have died in all of the official wars that have been fought by the United States with our allies. Think about it. 1,350,000 Americans gave their lives, the full last measure of devotion, gave their lives to make sure that freedom would never perish from this earth. So it is our job now, all of us, not just me, it is all of us, it is our job to defend the founding principles of the Constitution for our children and grandchildren and their children and their grandchildren, and on and on. I want them to be blessed with the opportunities that I have had in my life through merit and hard work, and giving me the opportunity to achieve things for myself and for my community and for my nation. I think that one of the cornerstones of securing the Constitution in my mind, is citizenship. And we'll get into this in a lot of detail. But citizenship is right up there at the top in terms of being able to understand the Constitution. Going back to some of the earliest political philosophers that I'll talk about, people like Plato and Socrates, they understood very early in their democratic society that people had to be educated in order to make good judgments when it came to voting or participating in debate um, in the city state. So, education, as we'll talk about in this podcast a little bit, and then the next one a lot, the importance of education in a free society. Um, Now, there are other reasons, more personal reasons, why I wanted to take this time, this moment, to explain why. Um, Again, if I haven't already said it, I'll say it again. I'm not here for fame or fortune. If you don't listen to my podcast, you don't listen to my podcast. That's your business. But I hope that you will stay with me and see where this goes. I have four very personal reasons why I want to do this. I have four granddaughters, ages 27 to 7, and I want them to embrace and have the opportunities through merit and hard work and performance to be able to achieve the most that they are capable of achieving. And I would hate to be at the end of my life knowing that they would not be able to experience those things. So it is for them that I have undertaken and launched this podcast, and that's just a personal thing on my part. But I know there are many of you busy working adult parents out there, that don't have time. But if you have time to drive down the road, maybe you can flip to my podcast. Maybe you could tell your young children, your teenager, hey, I want you, when you're, besides all those games you're playing on the phone, I want you to look up a podcast, We the People 250, podcast.com, and we're going to talk about it. So, we can all participate in a lot of different ways here, and that's just one that I suggest. Um, so I've talked about, those people that gave their last full measure of devotion for freedom. And we'll come back to that. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail, especially when we get to the American Revolution. But there are other things here I think that need to be mentioned, um, and that's service. We must give service back. That's part of good citizenship. We got to give it back in very many different ways. You young people, even down to the elementary level, you can work hard in school. I hope you all will. Work hard. Do the best you can be. Just get with it. Work every night. Spend an hour or so with homework. Do it whenever you can. Read extra um, and really push the limits and push your friends, um, and really work hard. It will make a lot of difference, and many opportunities will come your way. Um, and so service. Um, I've already mentioned what kids can do to make their parents proud, but that also makes their schools and teachers very proud. I remember that. I remember celebrating with my students as they, as I saw their failures and their successes. It was amazing stuff. Um, And so that, that's at the local level. You can join the Rotary Club, the Elks Club, the Lions Club, um, other service platforms that are available. You can do that. Um, you can even reach out to beyond your community and reach out to the state and offer your help in many, many different ways. Maybe you help out at the voting booth. Maybe you help out your political party. Maybe you become an active member, and that's great. Good for you. Um, Maybe you help out at the federal level and reach out to your entrusted um, I don't want to say servants, but that's what they're there. They're there to serve the American people, and and reach out to them. Reach out to your senators and congressmen and express your views. They're ready. They're ready to hear you. Um, my textbook, if I recall, in political science, um, said that anyone who writes a personal letter to their president or to any senator or congressman, um, if it's read, they know that there's a lot of other people that are probably thinking the same thing. So there you go. And, you don't have to write a letter of criticism. We like to do that a lot. But you can also write a letter of praise. Hey, on this particular point, you got it right, and I'm behind you 100%. Good enough. They get that message. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We can vote, as we'll talk about with citizenship. Voting is critical in a Republican democratic form of government. So, do what you can do on all the different levels and be an active participant and not a bystander. Um, Now, I want to go into something else here, but I want to pause just for a second. I need a glass of water. Hang on. I want to go on and talk about another um, reason, another thing that I believe has brought me to this decision to do this podcast now. Um, and this goes, we think of this as something modern. It's, in this last century and now. No, this goes back to the very founding, the very beginnings of our um, Constitution, and even before. Um, and that's a group of people out there that we will call elitist. They believe that because of maybe their pedigree, background, the fact that they hold a college degree or advanced degree or whatever, that they are entitled to tell you and I what we're going to do all the time. And this notion, it didn't start last year or before the Trump administration or before Biden's administration or before whatever, Obama's and on back. This goes way back to the very founding of our country and earlier. And I'll just give you one example of that. There was a group of military veterans that had a society, and it was referred to as Cincinnatus, after an ancient, very popular Roman general. And this society um, invited George Washington to join, and he hesitated, and he finally said no, very politely, because they were pushing for this notion that their children regardless if they had served or not, could be members of Cincinnatus, right? Well, obviously, that's going to give you a lot of connections and maybe some influence or whatever. And he decided, no, 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 that's going too far. I don't want to be a part of that. And he backed off, rightly so. Um, and we fought this idea of title and nobility, coming right down from the British. They distinguished themselves into basically three classes: the king, the aristocracy, and the commoners, as they even still called today, the commoners. And that was passed on. It didn't, you know, even though there wasn't a king or an aristocrat on those first ships that came to America, they might as well have been, because those notions and all of that history and values and belief system came to America on those boats, to different parts of the colonies. And so, those people who ruled colonial America, yes, many of them were maybe born in this later on to be called the United States, or in the colonies, and they were British subjects. Didn't matter where they were born, they were British subjects. Um, but most of the ruling elite were from the aristocracy. In other words, I've got title, I've got status, and maybe I've got an education to some extent, and maybe I got a very good education. So therefore, I'm going to tell you what to do, and I'm going to rule over you. That is something that has really disturbs me, because today we have a lot of career politicians that are there for 30, 40 years, and you know eh, I don't think our system was designed for that. And there are now people pushing in Congress, to change that and put a cap or a limit on the number of years you can serve. One person suggests 12 and out. I don't know what that magic number is, but if you're not going in there to serve the people, but you're there to serve yourself and line your pockets, that's not good. That's not good for us, and it's not good for the Constitution. But again, that's systemic to that notion of elitism. And I don't know about you, but and I know some people can go, wait a minute, Wilson, you're talking about me, and I'm a friend of yours, or you're a relative of mine. But I hate to tell you that, when I see a person with a suit on, I take a second glance, um, because of that elitism attitude. And just because you can put a suit on doesn't mean you're a rocket scientist. It doesn't mean that you're brilliant. It doesn't even mean that you can you can claim leadership skills. And I can give a lot of reasons for that today, but or a lot of examples of that today, but for right now, just leave it alone. Um, and let me say again, just pause for a moment and say that, you know, um, I I know that words have meaning and they can be hurtful, and so I'm trying to be careful at this. And I know there are a lot of wonderful politicians in Washington D.C. trying to get good things done. You can see it all the time, and good things can happen. Solutions can happen, and good things can come of it. And hopefully, you know, there will be more dialogue across the aisles, as they like to say, that people will try to find more solutions because that's what we pay them for. Um, so, I don't want to be harsh. I know it's hard, um, but people can have good influences and bad influencers, and they're all around us all the time. So I think we all, including myself, we got to pick carefully who those people are that are going to influence our lives and our opinions and especially our political opinions. So that's another area that I find that needs work. There's no doubt about it. That area of elitism. Just because these people go to an Ivy League school in the East, they get this notion that they're better than us. Really? I don't believe that for a moment. I don't. I'm sorry. Boom. I can't believe it. Um, and so I think I am going to, in a minute here, push that pause button. But I hope you will join me for um, my second part of episode 1, and I will continue on with a discussion on why this idea of a constitutional podcast is necessary, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And so, for now, from the great state of Montana, I wish you a good day and safe driving out there on our highways, and hope to see you again soon. And thank you very much for listening to this old guy. And we'll see you again next time from the last best place, which is the Constitution of the United States. Thank you and good day.